Hi there, today we're in the showroom of Chicago Colored Label to go over the replacement of a Memjet wiper roller. The Memjet wiper roller looks a little like this, or looks exactly like this. Is the roller that gets engaged to basically clean the printhead, the Memjet printhead, regularly to make sure it's free of extra ink and debris. Now, this blue wrapping around there is actually protective wrapping that has to get removed before replacement. But this is the wiper roller. This is the mechanism. You can see a gear on this end here, and then a post on the other end here, and that's what locks into the wiper roller mechanism that we'll take a look at. That's part of the service station assembly. So this is a consumable part. This does need to be swapped out regularly. Memjet recommends, I believe it's every printhead that's replaced, they recommend that you also replace the wiper roller. We think that's a little too much, and we recommend, depending on the volume that you're printing, we recommend that this gets swapped out maybe every other printhead. Now, if you are doing very high volume printing on your Memjet printer, you might want to consider every printhead getting one of these swapped out. But essentially it is quite easy to do. We're going to show you how to do it so you don't have to pay somebody to do it. It's very, very simple, and once you do it once or twice, you're really looking at, say, a 10 to 15 minute change for something like this. So let's jump right into it and see what's involved with swapping out the Memjet wiper roller.
Okay, so the first thing we want to do is eject and store the printhead from the printer. This is optional, but I recommend it, highly recommend it. If you've used Memjet printers for a while, you know how sensitive those printheads can be to drying out and clogging the nozzles and streaking. So considering the price of those consumables, I always think it's a good idea to store it away. So hopefully you've hung on to one of the packages that came with your Memjet printer, because you're gonna want to use that to store this printhead. You can store it another way, but I don't know of a way to keep it properly, kind of away from the air and keep those printhead nozzles up elevated so they don't touch anything, which is what that orange cap does. You see those white sponges on either side on the bottom elevate the printhead so that those nozzles aren't touching. So I always slide it back into all the packaging. In fact, I even slip a damp piece of paper towel into the silver liner there, and then I slip that back into the box. I just kind of, it's an extra minute, but I think it really makes a difference. It's worth that as opposed to replacing a printhead or having to run a clean cycle and do all of that. So that's the first step. The next two steps involve ejecting the service station and removing any panels that are in the way of working with that service station and wiper roller assembly. For the L801, which I'm working with here, the Afinia L801, I'm taking the panel off first, but you could eject the service station first and then remove the panel. So even though I'm doing the panel here first, both of these steps are kind of interchangeable. So I'm loosening 4 screws on the L801. There's 4 screws, 2 up top and 2 down below, which is what you can see me removing now. And I'm going to pop that front panel off. Notice the power's still on. Keep in mind that you don't want to unplug any cables and do any major work on this while the power's on, but we'll power that off in a moment. So now I'm going to lift the clamshell using these 2 tabs here, and always use those tabs to lift the clamshell up. And in order to eject the service station, which is where the wiper roller lives, you're going to have to make sure you're at the right security level on the printer. So level 0 that you see here is the most basic and restrictive of the 2 settings. So right now I'm going into the security settings, and I'm using the default password of 123 to authenticate into the highest elevated administrative level of that printer. And then I'm stepping back through the menus, and I'm going to enter back in and go to the option for the service station that's now available after elevating my privileges. And I'm going to select the eject function here and hit confirm. And that is going to eject the printhead as you see there. It's kind of just spitting it out the front. So at this point, I want to power the printer off. I don't want to work with the power on it from this point on anymore because I'm going to be unhooking cables and I'm going to be doing a whole bunch of stuff. I don't want to risk electrical shock or arcs or anything like that, or surges. So there's two power connectors on power and data connectors on the L801 here. One for the LCD screen and another for, well, heck, I don't know what that is. Maybe the cutter? No. I don't know. There's two power cords. Take them out. Now you're going to remove and slide out the service station. So that big black hunk right there is the service station. And what I just pulled out is the wiper roller assembly. So you're just going to want to slide that out. It slides out really easily. And now I'm going to want to undo the two screws on either side. Now these screws aren't actually holding anything in. What they are doing is acting as posts that restrict the cap here. And the screw wasn't out far enough at this point, so I'm going to do one more turn, and I'm going to lift the clip that locks the wiper roller post in. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. You're just going to back this screw out just enough to get that clip up. Now the first clip there before, my hand was in the way, but now you can see where that clip is and how it moves up. So now at this point, your wiper roller is free to remove. You can just lift it out of there. I'm going to lift it out. I'm going to take it to the garbage can and dump it in there. Notice I'm wearing gloves because if you're using that printer a lot, you're going to have a lot of ink around here. So here's the new wiper roller, and it comes with this protective blue sleeve on it. There's a little tab you can grab to take off half, and then the other half remains on the other side that you also have to remove. So we're going to peel that away from the wiper roller. And then you'll notice the gear on one side and the post on the other. The gear goes on the left side of the wiper roller assembly. And you want to just kind of set that in there, but ensure that that gear matches up with the gear on the wiper roller assembly. That's very important. Once you're sure it's sitting in there properly, go ahead and engage those clips again that you just undid. They click down into place, both on the left and the right. And then go ahead and retighten the screws that you loosened. You're going to be really careful with those screws again, because if you go out too far, they'll fall out. They're very tiny, and I've lost screws inside the chassis of the printer before. So tighten those screws just so they're flush mounted to the plastic casing that they're going through. And once that's done, you have successfully replaced the wiper roller in the wiper roller assembly. So now you're going to drop that wiper roller assembly back down into the service station, and you're going to find the two grooves that the service station kind of slides into. Once you have it in there, that service station will slide very easily and freely to the back, and you want to push it just to the point where it stops. You don't want to force it in. Once it stops, you're going to wind the gear on the right side, as you can see there, all the way back. And that service station, if it is engaged with the gears properly, it's going to move back very, very easily toward the back of the printer. You want that service station to go all the way back until it stops. You're not going to force it any further than it goes once it stops. Once it does stop, you're going to then roll it back forward just a half turn or a full turn so that that printhead cap is even with the opening in there. At this point, we're just going to reattach cables. We're going to put any panels back on that you had to take off to access the service station. We're going to slide that back into place once those connectors are all connected in there. Don't force this cover. Sometimes the connectors have to slide into little slots and spaces there, so it should go in quite easily. Notice I had to kind of reseat it in place there in order for it to work. You might think the video is sped up here, but in actuality, that's all me. Yeah, I've been working out. My wife told me I should exercise a little bit, and I mean, it's amazing. Look at the speed. She also told me I need to start making dinner more often, but I think I'm going to stick to working out. So at this point, we have everything back together, and you notice we might have missed something. I just closed the cover there, and we haven't reinserted the printhead, which is kind of important. So go ahead and grab the printhead, pull it back out of the packaging that you stored it in. We're going to reinsert the printhead, and then from that point, we are ready to do a test print. A lot of people, when the wiper roller is defective or old, we see color streaking, we see banding, things like that. Probably won't be giving you real thin hairline blank lines like a clogged printhead will. It will behave a little differently, and a lot of times you'll clean the printhead and you'll see the issues improve, and then the issues come right back, and that usually indicates a bad wiper roller.
So that's the process in general. There are a few things in the entire process that were left out. So there are some ribbon cables attached to that service station that I personally don't like to mess with. It kind of makes me nervous disconnecting ribbon cables and working with those little plastic connectors. I'm always afraid I'm going to break something. So I personally like to avoid that. So you notice that I balanced that service station, admittedly precariously on that platform there of the printer. But the process you saw didn't include any of those ribbon cables coming out. I just slid that out and kind of worked with it as it was in there. If you have any questions, post them in the comments. Appreciate everybody if you like and subscribe to the channel, and there'll be more like these tutorials to come. A lot of these processes are things that you can do yourself if you want to. You don't have to have somebody come out to service them to take care of these. So thank you very much. Thank you to everybody who's here for the first time, and thank you very much to all of our current and existing customers. We appreciate you very much. Thank you.